Cozy Cloud Stories.
Zayn the lion who wanted to roar softly. Zayn was not like the other lion cubs in his pride. While his brothers and sisters practiced their loud, mighty roars, shaking the trees and scaring small creatures, Zayn preferred to sit quietly under the shade of a great acacia tree, listening to the gentle sounds of the wind rustling through the leaves. "Why don't you roar, Zayn?" his brother Brutus asked one day, letting out a deafening roar that startled a group of birds into the sky. Zayn shuffled his paws in the dirt. "I just don't like being loud," he said softly. Brutus laughed. "But we are lions, the kings of the jungle. A lion's roar must be strong and powerful." Zayn frowned but didn't argue. He knew that a lion's roar was supposed to be important. It was how they showed strength, warned others, and led the pride. But something inside him just didn't feel right about roaring so loudly. His mother, a wise and gentle lioness named Amara, watched her son with kind eyes. "Zayn, being a leader isn't just about having the loudest roar," she said one evening as they sat beneath the golden sunset. "It's about having the strongest heart." Zayn thought about his mother's words as he lay under the stars that night. Could there be another way to be a great lion without roaring at all? One morning, the lion cubs gathered near a rocky clearing where the elder lion stood tall. Today was an important day. It was time for the young cubs to prove their strength. Each cub had to show how powerful their roar was. Brutus stepped forward first, took a deep breath, and let out an earth-shaking roar. It echoed through the valley, making even the mighty elephants glance in his direction. The other cubs cheered. One by one, each cub roared, each one trying to be louder than the last. Then it was Zayn's turn. He stepped forward hesitantly, feeling every pair of eyes on him. He knew what they expected, but deep inside he felt something different. Taking a deep breath, Zayn didn't roar. Instead, he spoke. "Why do we have to be loud to be strong?" he asked, his voice calm and clear. "Isn't strength also about wisdom, kindness, and knowing when to listen?" A murmur ran through the lions. The elders exchanged glances, and Brutus snickered. "Lions are born to be loud, Zayn," one of the older cubs said. "That's how we lead." Zayn lowered his gaze, but he didn't feel embarrassed. Instead, he felt something else: determination. A few days later, a group of young antelopes wandered too close to the lion's watering hole. Normally, the lions would chase them away with growls and roars, but Zayn had another idea. Instead of scaring them, he walked up gently and spoke to them. "This is our drinking spot," he said. "We don't want to frighten you, but we need space too. Maybe we can share the water peacefully." The antelopes blinked in surprise. No lion had ever spoken to them like that before. Instead of running away in fear, they simply nodded and moved a few steps aside. Brutus, watching from a distance, frowned. "You let them stay?" he asked, confused. "They weren't hurting anyone," Zayn said. "Why should we chase them away when we can just talk to them?" Brutus huffed and walked away, but the other cubs began to wonder if Zayn was onto something. A few weeks later, disaster struck the pride. A wildfire had broken out in the dry grasslands, and thick smoke filled the air. The lions had to flee to safety, but the cubs were frightened, scattering in different directions. The elder lions roared, trying to call them back, but the sound of the fire was louder. Panic spread through the pride. Zayn knew he had to do something, but instead of roaring, he ran to each cub, speaking softly but firmly. "Follow me," he said to one frightened cub. "We need to stay together. We'll be safe if we move calmly," he reassured another. Slowly, the cubs began to listen to Zayn's steady voice. While the other lions roared in distress, Zayn guided the young ones toward the river, where the fire couldn't reach them. By the time the fire died down, every cub was safe. When the pride gathered again, the elder lions looked at Zayn with new respect. "You led them not with a roar but with wisdom and kindness," Amara said proudly. Even Brutus had to admit, "Maybe you don't need to roar to be a great lion after all." Zayn smiled. He had found his own way to be strong, not with loudness but with heart. And from that day forward, the lions of the pride learned that sometimes a gentle voice can be just as powerful as the loudest roar. Join us for more heartwarming bedtime tales filled with adventure, kindness, and life lessons. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story.